Nothing satisfies like a countdown timer. All right. Welcome, one and all. I'm going to pray, 4 announcements, and then I'm introducing our speaker today, and he's going to take you the rest of the way. So pray with me if you would. Father, thank you for getting us through our week, and we lift up everyone, Father, who's struggling, who's hurting right now, who needs to know of your promise of unconditional love, your peace, and your saving grace, Father. I'm also thankful for those who are having a great week and who are just full of a joy that only you can provide. So thank you for this time. Open our hearts to what we're going to hear today, Lord. In your name, amen. All right, announcement number 1, Ms. Anderson.
Hey, everyone. I just wanted to let you know, if you've ever come to a BCS volleyball game, you are well aware of the 7th woman, which is all of you fans that come and support us. We need the 7th woman in full force because on Monday, we have to play off Seattle Christian at Seattle Christian to take 3rd in our league so we can move on to districts. So last time we played at Seattle Christian, we ended up losing to them in 5 sets because their fans supported them so well. So our game's at 6 on Monday. Please be there. Please come out and support our awesome volleyball team that are killing it on the court.
Just for the record, you don't actually have to be female to be a 7th woman. Just for some of you are like, whatever. All right. Good to see you out there. Junior high, this one's for you. If you are in Mr. Walter's first period 8th grade science class, apparently you know who you are. If you haven't gotten a study guide from him, please see him and make sure you got that. All right. Here we go. Final 2. Tonight, band concert. So if you want to come to the band concert, do it. And finally, Alex Irizarry, do me a favor, stand up. All right. Alex is a football player. He is a senior. Tomorrow, senior night. Football, L-Dub, 5 o'clock. There you go. There you go. So, thank you. That was all I needed. All right. Okay. This, I really like, I really like who we get to speak in chapel. But as you may or may not know, Veterans Day is coming up in a couple weeks. And so our guest today is a man that I've actually known since the mid-'90s. Which is a long time ago. But I'm going to read an introduction to him here, but I'm excited for you to hear our guest today because it's going to be different than what we're used to, and I think it's going to be a great way to end our week. So I'm going to read this, and hopefully without muffin it. So our speaker today is Gary Horton. He spends his time traveling across the nation speaking to young people about America and its future. After completing college in Florida, he spent many years working with troubled youth in the juvenile courts in Miami, Florida. He later expanded his work to Florida state prisons. Mr. Horton served in the U.S. Army Airborne Rangers until 1977 when he completed his military service in the 2nd Ranger Battalion. He then returned to civilian life where he renewed his commitment to the youth of America. In the last few years, Gary has conducted over 7,000 school assembly programs in 46 states. He speaks to us today as a concerned patriot who cares much about our nation and knows that the future is in the hands of us all. So would you please give a warm Bellevue Christian welcome to Ranger Gary Horton. That's your water. Thank you,
sir. Don't kid me. You're just glad to get out of class. Mike, turn up the mic, please. Good to know that his name's related so I could remember it. Seniors, where are you? Seniors in the house. Here we go. Oh, you got the $100 seats, huh? Look at this. Congratulations, 13 years, 30,000 some odd hours of school. It's amazing how fast time flies when you're unconscious. You teachers know what I'm talking about. The lights are on, but nobody's home, right? Yeah, I've been there. Plus, I didn't want to be the only senior citizen in this place. Let me mess with the 10th graders. Where are the sophomores in the house? Where are you, sophomore? I know why they got you back in the dark there. I know why. Has a nice ring to it. You see, I'm not a 10th grader, man. I happen to be a sophomore. You know why they call you that? It comes from two root words. Sophos is a Greek word for wise or wisdom. It's where you get the name Sophia. But the other one's a root word to moron. See, the word sophomore means wise fool, or in my case, smart aleck. And they call you that because I hope by the time you get there, you're smart enough to know how dumb you really are. Whoop, there it is. Yeah, I come from L.A., that's lower Alabama. Don't laugh, I probably got cousins related to me here. I mean, if I happen to have any relatives, any DNA that kind of crossed, you know, I'd like to know if I got family here. Anybody here ever cut your grass and find a car? Hey, cuz, what's up? Do half the cars your family own don't run? Can they hear your car before they see it? Has your mother ever been in a fist fight at a football game and won? I don't know about you. I'll never be the man my mother was, boy. My mom was tougher than woodpecker lips. Does your mother own a homemade fur coat? You love your pets? Recycle them. The more I see of the human race, the more I love animals. Does the TV that you have at home that works sitting on a TV that don't work? Come on now, where are you? There it is, there it is. Yeah, okay. Stack them on up. Has your family ever been asked to leave the zoo for harassing the monkeys? Yeah, I got you. I got you. And don't tell us to say no to crack. We just pull up our overalls. If your parents ask you, what did you learn today at school? Tell them that one. That'll really wake them up. Anyway, I'm glad you young people have a good sense of humor. Did you know that God had a sense of humor? Look at the one sitting next to you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got you. But don't judge people by their looks or their color. Just remember this. You didn't pick your parents, and neither did I. How would you like to live with this face? You think you got it tough? When I was born, my doctor looked at me and smacked my mother. You taking this thing home? What is this? The guy said, looked like a poster child for birth control. Now that's funny right there. I don't care who you are. That's funny. But anyway. I tell you, it's tough to stay in shape when you travel as much as I do, but I want to let some of you know that I have found the ultimate workout. I get up in the morning, no matter where I am, I run around the block about 6 times, then I push the block back under the bed and go to sleep. I'm too dizzy to leave the house. I'm glad you have a sense of humor. Did you know doctors prove that people who laugh live longer than people who don't? So some of you better loosen up before you die right here. Okay. Listen up. I want you to know that it's an honor for me to be here today. I'm here without any cost to your school. I never charge for what I do because the price is too high. I'm talking about the ultimate price of your freedom. And the price never goes down. So I often love to challenge young people. Are you here by birth, or are you here by choice, or do you even know the difference? Because right now, you are the most valuable asset in this country. And my generation betrayed you. We were preoccupied with things that have no meaning. Now, the only rule I have, and I shouldn't have to mention it here, but the only rule I have, refrain from having contact, talking, or distracting someone around here. I've come a long way, and I don't want to miss any of you. I want to show you, if they'll show a picture behind me, I want to show you the way I see young people of America. No comment, please. This picture was taken many years ago by a gentleman who made a lot of money. He was in one of those African countries where people starve to death every day. And it amazes me, we used to have commercials during prime time, but they moved them to midnight because people in America were offended by watching starving children while they were eating supper. 1/3 of the world goes to bed hungry every day. 1/3 of this country is on a diet. Our dogs and cats eat better than most kids that ever lived. Here's the question. If you pulled up in a truck and you saw this, what would it cause you to do? He made a lot of money, but for some reason, a year later, he committed suicide. I don't have the facts. But every time I see this, it haunts me because this is the way I see you. Not physically, but spiritually. I've never known another time in America where young people were more desperate for the feeling of belonging or meaning or purpose or being able to define, why am I here? What's my purpose in life? Why more young people your age commit suicide every 24 hours in America than the entire year I got out of high school, and you've got the greatest opportunities. You're in the greatest country who sacrificed the greatest amount of blood so that every day you have cost them every day they lost. And the vulture, that's the culture you live in. You live in a nation now that the culture is designed to exploit you, use you, and destroy you. Even if you have the wisdom in this school to say, I think I know exactly why I'm here. One of the questions I love to ask young people, if you've ever put together a puzzle, how many of you enjoy putting puzzles together? Let me see your hands quickly. Thank you. Okay, good. Now, putting a puzzle together, what would you consider to be the most important piece of the puzzle? Corners? I got you. Bottom? Yes. Some say all the pieces. That's right. The last piece? Obviously. But the most important piece of a puzzle, young people, is the box. If you're not looking at the big picture, I don't care how sincere and talented you think you are, nothing you put together will ever make any sense if you're not looking at the big picture, the box. And I think we're all pieces of the puzzle of humanity. You were created, and I'm sure this school teaches you that. The rest of them get paid for lying. You're not an accident. You are a direct decision of Almighty God to give you your first breath. The question is, how many breaths along the way are you going to give back to Him? Because if you ever find out why you're here, if you ever get to know the Creator, and you are able to see the big picture, because there's only one large big picture known to mankind. And I assume this school respects that picture. It's a book. It's the only book written that gives you the exact past, present, and the future. And without that book, you'll never know what life is, because it's about a man. Why would God in John chapter 1 call himself the Word? Because understanding God demands vocabulary. And words was written there so that you can understand God in this dispensation, because God doesn't manifest himself in this age as he used to. So you must understand by reading the big picture. And it's not the big picture you read. It's the big picture that's sticking, that dwelling in your soul right now. Years ago, during the Vietnam War, our prisoners of war suffered terribly. But there was a raid carried out in 1968 called the Sante Raid, where the American commandos went into North Vietnam and tried to rescue them, but somehow the POWs were moved. But the enemy was so upset, what they did is they began to consolidate these prisoners of war, and many of which spent years in total isolation, and you have no idea how much torment that'll do to your soul. So now they begin to bring them together. And it was like a Christmas, because many of them only knew about the guy next door because of a tap code that they would torture you if they found out you were communicating. So now they had a chance to look into the face of other POWs and encourage them. And finally, they realized, look, this is the only chance we may have to be together. They're going to give us papers because they want us to write down how well we're being treated here by the enemy. And so what we need to do is write down on the paper everything we wish we knew before we ever got captured. So let's share these good things together. So they got together and they began to share some of the most important things that they held on to during those disastrous years as prisoners. In about 30 minutes, they stopped writing. And they looked at each other and said, guess what? The most important things in our life that we needed in the greatest crisis of our existence was the thing we had the least. It's not the Bible you carry, young people. It's the Bible you put here. You want to know your report card in eternity? How much of the person of Christ through his writings do you have right now in your soul? By the way, that's your grade. Because the book is about a man. We're here not just to make a living. You're here to make a difference. If I could go to your home and look at the pictures on your wall in your room, I could read you like a book. We often look up to celebrities, millionaires who run them down football fields, or put a golf ball in a hole in the ground, or a tennis ball over a net, or stand on stage with music that mocks everything America used to believe. These people aren't hurting financially. But look at those who get up every day. Their hand's not out, but their heart is, and they make a difference. And they give and often sacrifice for you and me. Many years ago in a high school in Ohio, 2,200 students sat as thoughtful as most of you. And when I finished, this teacher walked up, shook my hand. He said, I don't have any idea how you got here, but we needed everything you just gave to school. He said, I'm so glad that you came. He thanked me, then turned and began to walk to class. He looked back and said, do you have a few minutes? Can I show you why I'm a teacher? I will never forget that morning. I walked into a classroom and I saw this man up close. In the corner was a bulletin board, and on the bulletin board were the faces of everybody in his life he never wanted to forget. At the top he had the words, My Hall of Fame. He said, man, if it hadn't been for these people right here, I wouldn't know what day it was. There's my granddad in uniform, gave his life with Patton's Third Army in World War II. Showed me a picture of an uncle, got the Medal of Honor in the Korean War because he sacrificed himself that last minute on that grenade to save his buddies for another day. He said, see that lady there? We didn't like her. Toughest teacher in our school. Made you learn when you didn't want to. We didn't appreciate her. He said, this big guy right here was my football coach. And he said, football is a game, but those who never quit here never lose. You want to know what I was looking at? The very essence of this man. And as I looked at all those paintings, pictures, little writings, I found a picture of the teacher. He was standing with a handful of guys. They had Green Berets and jungle fatigues in Vietnam. And I noticed he had carefully circled some of the faces in that picture. And I remember I pointed down, I said, tell me about these guys. The look that came over his face. I'll never forget. He stared, swallowed, and said, they were my buddies who came back in a box. He said, I look at them every morning before the students get in this class, because if I don't keep them alive, then what in the world am I doing what am I doing here? Are you living in the light of the true heroes of your past? Do you have anybody in your life that you have their picture up, and every day you realize they gave up every one of their tomorrows for every today you and I have left? See, that's what keeps us inspired, because you live your life not just within you, but within those who went before you. I remember that school many years ago where a young kid came up to me in the 6th grade and he said, we don't do the pledge in my school. He said, but I do it every morning. Got my granddaddy's flag on my wall, and I got his picture. And when my feet hit the floor every morning, because I know what Grandpa went through for that flag, and I look at his picture and say, I sure miss you, Grandpa. And then he said, I pledge allegiance because that flag meant more to me than just cloth and color. Do you know, when I went to the high school that day, they didn't do the pledge either, but when I told them about that young man, I found out, I got an email about 2 weeks later, both schools decided to start doing the pledge because of that one kid. Do you realize what you could do if you start doing it for the right reason? When I see the flag, I go back to Afghanistan in 2004 when I went over there just to share what I'm sharing with you to these wonderful men and women. And I'd have them bring out a flag holding it wide open, because I gave them something they have never heard, and I doubt whether you've ever heard it. The 13 folds of the flag at a funeral. Every fold stands for something of great significance, something of great value. Most of us have never heard it. And that day when I gave the 13 folds, thousands of these wonderful men and women came up and said, we never heard that our whole life. Where'd you get that? And I explained what it's all about. I said, there's a lot about our history we no longer understand, and how do you sustain and hold on to stuff you've never understood? I did it again at Shanksville, Pennsylvania that year at 9/11/2004. I walked up on a group of people holding a flag that would actually cover this entire room. Hundreds of people showed up, and they were holding this flag while the man at the top was lecturing. And I walked up a little late, and I was at the bottom corner, and I just held the flag and listened to what this man was saying. It had written on that gigantic flag, dedicated to the heroes of Flight 93, September 11, 2001. And when he said, I need military types to help me fold this large flag, I happened to be at the end where it ended up in my hands. It had a lot more than 13 folds, but I stopped and I looked at the man up front and I said, sir, may I give the folds of the flag at a funeral? He said, the what? I said, it's sad to me that most Americans didn't know that every time you fold that flag, every fold stands for something of great significance, especially if you're going to hand it to a family, because their loved one loved America more than all the days to come. Well, it's not what you hear, it's what you never forget. I want to give you an outline. If you can write this down when I'm gone, because the real secret to your life is not what you hear, it's what you never forget. And before I leave, I hope to give you the colors of the flag, because I'm pretty confident there's not a person in this room that can tell me what does the red, the white, and the blue actually stand for. What's the meaning behind it? See, it's all ritual, but without reality, how can it have significance in your life? I want to spell a word. Tell me what I'm spelling. Attitude, motivation, enthusiasm, respect, integrity, courage, aspiration, or ambition. What did I spell? America. Now this is my definition. If any of you can write this down when I'm gone, at least these miles and this time was not in vain. Attitude. Listen. You're not what you think you are what you think. You better be selective now. With all this technology, you could feed on the worst garbage on life, and you won't even recognize what it does to you, because there'll be a day in your life you will take advantage of young people and never know what kind of an animal you became, because what you sow, you're going to reap. Remember that verse? But what you reap, you're going to eat. And if life tastes bad, guess who's cooking? It took me a long time to figure out I never had a bad day in my life. I had a lousy, selfish, bitter, vindictive attitude. I went through some tough times when I was just a young man, but I never got over it. I hope you can get this. If you react to life, you're going to multiply the pain. You're going to multiply the problem. When we react, we tie it together because it's all about us. And if you live your life and it's all about you, my friend, you'll suffocate one day because you'll be the most selfish package you'll ever know. But when you respond to life, it means you have learned the power of faith. And faith says, everything I go through in life doesn't just include me, it includes him. Why does he ask you to cast your cares on him? Why does he say that those who are justified must live by faith, not by feeling? By the way, you realize your emotions will deceive you? Your emotions have no thought content. If you live on how you feel, your body will be your own prison cell. But if you live on the knowledge that never goes away, you live on the truth. And if the truth can set us free, what do the lies of this world represent in your life? Your mind is your life. Young people, you're only going to be young for a few years. But you could be foolish your entire life until you get this straight. Your attitude is everything. It's a sense of your priorities. What's the most important thing in your life? You ever written them down? By the way, what would you die for? Because if you don't know what you die for, you're not too sure what you're living for. By the way, no comments, ladies. Excuse me. Don't talk, please. You guys think I'm blind? There's not much going on in this room that I don't see because I've learned how to focus. Because when people are trying to kill you on a battlefield, you better know how to think, and you better know what you're looking at. Distractions is your greatest enemy, young people. Overcome technology. And those little cell phones are going to send some of you to the grave way ahead of your time. Why? You're addicted to what everybody else thinks. And what people think about you will never last. Your report card will come from him. So you better be able to define it. And when you go through life and you learn to respond, you not just have the horizontal problems, you have the vertical solution. Because you think there's an answer to the mess this country's in apart from him? You think this next election is going to change anything? You think man by man's efforts can ever solve his own problems? Why do you think we're in trouble now? Our government's trying to replace God. That's why, by the way, God is no longer accepted in the public arena. You know why I'm no longer invited to public schools? Because I refuse to give up the greatest name given among men, whereby I've been recycled and given a reason to live. And that's the name Lord Jesus Christ. Now, Christians are dying if they believe that. Are you ready? It's going to be our turn. Your attitude is your life. Emma's motivation. Write 3 words down in your room and see it every day you walk out. What's my motive? I dare you to do this. By the way, you want to make a difference in your life? You want to make a difference in your home? Go home and make your bed every day. And don't be like that foolish kid that says, Dad, why should I make my bed? I'm just going to mess it up. Why do you wipe when you go to the bathroom? Or maybe you don't. I dare you to do it. Pick up your clothes. Don't ever drop stuff that don't belong where you put it. I met a young man years ago. Boy, I was so proud to know this kid. He was in North Carolina. He broke the running back record for the history of the high school. And the media wanted to do an interview because the colleges wanted to know all they could about him. So they went to his home. And one guy said, let's do this in your room. So they walked into the room of a senior in high school, and they were shocked. It was so neat and together. Looked like he didn't even live there. Bed was made, no clothes on the floor. Everything was neat. Guy said, your mother works hard around here. He said, that's true, but this room is my responsibility. What? You keep it like this? Yes, sir. Why? It's a way of saying I love you, Mom, without using words. Had a sign on the wall that said drugs and alcohol belong to the chumps, but never the champs of life. And one guy says, you don't go out there and booze it up with them jock buddies on the weekend? He said, no, sir, that's not me. On the other side, he had another sign that says, true love waits. Guy goes, you're not a bad-looking dude, man. You don't go out there and bird dog them girls and see how far you can mess with them? He said, no, sir, that's not me either. One guy looked at him and said, son, what about peer pressure? He looked back and said, mister, I am peer pressure. Do you realize that's who you are? There's things coming out of your life right now that you're either going to lift up or tear down. Do you realize every day you walk into this amazing school that you either increase its value or you take it away? You got little brothers and sisters at home? You're in the college of parents. Look at what the parents have to pay tax-wise just to pay the bills. If you got little siblings at home, they should be your project. They'll follow you. They'll imitate you. If you're not caring about them, stay out of the way. They got enough enemies. I live in a country where kids are not safe in their front porch anymore. Are you motivated? When's the last time you kicked yourself? I forgot to tell you that on that bulletin board in that high school in Ohio, I read words that kicked me. I'll leave my website, by the way, if you ever want a copy of this. You want to see tomorrow before it gets here? It's called The Man in the Glass. When you get what you want in the struggle for self and the world makes you king for a day, you go to the mirror, look at yourself, see what that guy has to say. It's not your father, your mother, your wife, your friends whose judgment upon your past. The verdict that counts the most in the world is the one coming back from the glass. The world may say you're a straight shooting chum and call you a wonderful guy, but the one in the mirror says you're a bum because you won't look me in the eye. He's the one you face, forget the rest. You see, he's with you to the end. And you pass the most dangerous, difficult test if the one in the glass is your friend. You may fool the world down the pathway of years, get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be sorrow and tears because you cheated the one in the glass. You know the toughest thing you'll ever do is face yourself, take off your mask, and be what he designed you to be, the real deal. You're the light in the darkest times in our history. Is your light being seen? The E is enthusiasm, and I want to come back to that letter because that's the foundation of America. But I want to go to the R, respect. Do you have a sense of self-value? You're not going to get it from people. Do you realize that you have a destiny, that you're a gift, and your life can make a difference, not just make a living? Your life could change this world. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. Individuals who commit themselves to their priorities can never be defeated. You got self-respect? Let's go look at your room. Let's find out how you talk to your parents. How do you deal with authority here in this school? How do you drive when nobody's watching? Until we realize that our sense of self-value defines where our priorities are. And if you want to give honor to the Savior, live your life so people will ask you, what do you believe? What are you all about? Why do you live the way you live? You say, because I don't belong to me. I'm a child of the King. And I'm proud to be called the child of the King because I'm going to spend eternity in his kingdom. So now I'm going to multiply his kingdom on earth. That's where the first battle is for the future. Because you have a sense of respect. And it's contagious how you dress, how you handle yourself. Until you see your own value, you'll never see the importance of other people's value in life. I is integrity. Think about the country we live in. Can anybody now honestly define morality? How can something be obviously perverted yet politically correct? Can you figure that out? What's integrity? It's one of the most powerful parts of your existence. It's called your character. And no matter what you think you look like, and no matter how good looking or whatever obstacles you have to deal with in this world, remember, your character will precede you. Your character will eliminate compromise. You'll stop being double-minded because double-minded people are unstable in everything they do. Your character is your power. By the way, that's what you're looking at. I'm not going to talk about marriage. We can't even define it. I don't care who you marry. Everybody ought to suffer. By the way, where there's love, there's suffering. You know why? True love gives. True love doesn't demand its own way. If you hang out with people that always have to have their own way, they're not just the most insecure person you ever met. Down deep, they're bullies. What's a bully? It's some sick individual that feels like tearing people down makes me big. If I can make you look bad, that makes me look better. It's a lie. But you can't communicate truth to a bully. They're all wrapped up in self. And when you're wrapped up in you, you're a small, small package. How do you define marriage today? I want to give you girls a secret, okay? Would you please hear this? If you ever give yourself to a guy who doesn't love the giver, then what do you think he's going to do to the gift? Ladies, you are still one of the greatest gifts that God ever gave the human race. Why do you think America used to refer to in the feminine? Why do we say we love her? Because any guy worth his salt knows, ladies, you are the future of this country. You are the hope of this country. And how you're treated means a lot to the foundation. What's the foundation of this country? The family. A family is no stronger than marriage, and we can't even define marriage in this country. Oh, I know they're not going to agree with me. I'm not here to get people to agree with me. I want to agree with him. That's the only reason after 50 years I'm still married to the greatest woman I ever met. By the way, I think that's against the law today. You know what I mean? But you marry somebody God gives you, it's forever. Because you waited on him. True love always waits. Can you be trusted? You have a code of honor? How often you think you lie, cheat, and steal, you're going to gain ground in this world? Never. Never. The rules don't change no matter what the culture throws at you and me. The C is courage. What's courage? It's convictions. You see, we hold opinions about many things, but the convictions of your life will hold you. What would you die for? If all of a sudden one of these maniacs who seem to break out because they got nothing better to do but start killing innocent people, if two or three of them walked into your school and walked up to you like that coward down there in Oregon and just say, "Are you a Christian?" By the way, I'm sure he didn't have any faith. He picked that up from the cosmic system because it looks like it's a powerful thing to kill people who are Christians. I don't think he had any idea what he was asking. But people died with the right